it's roughly 3 by 2.5 hexagons. Yeah, that's not enough. My right hand is doing a lot of work. I'm like constantly having my fingers on that lining on the bottom. I just learned something new, and I want to show you in case, you know, working with vintage fabrics becomes trendy. So we want these to line up exactly. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Brittany, the maker behind Ginger Patch Designs, and this week my daughter is at church camp, which means I have the whole studio to myself for an entire week. So we're gonna start playing with the vintage fabrics again, and I've been hoarding this one piece because I knew it was gonna be like its own, it was going to be its own thing, and now the time has finally come where I have time to really play around with it. So this is what we are working with. It is huge. It is absolutely humongous. I think I could get at least 3 for sure, maybe 4 or even 5 bags out of it, depending on how I cut it. Something I noticed about when I was ironing this morning is I don't know if this is a product of the hand quilting, like hand stitching all of the hexagon pieces together. And I don't know if you can see, like, the stitches are very, very even, but you can tell if you've done machine stitching that they were pieced together by hand. Now, this border that's on the outside, that was done by a machine, I can tell. And unfortunately, it's not a finished border. There's like pieces of it falling off. Even if it was finished, I don't know that I would have enough to like make bag straps out of it or anything. Plus, it's not wide enough. So when I was ironing it out, like the hexagons kept bunching. So I was thinking in terms of quilting, I was like, oh, that's, so I'm gonna have to be very careful with, I'm definitely gonna have to use the basting spray. Another great use for my cave vibe chair is a prop to get a good look at things, which is what we're gonna use it for. Okay, you're just gonna ignore all the stringies that are on it. I washed this when I was washing all the vintage fabric loads back when I got all that fabric, and I have not taken a sticky roller to it yet, but it is clean. But as you can see, like there's so many different patterns about it. Let me see if I can find my favorite. Oh, here it is, right here. It's like these little pink unicorns. I think it's just the cutest pink and blue, and I really like this gray as well. It's just extremely unique. Like I would have never probably put all of these fabrics together, but that leads me to what to do about the lining. The lining definitely needs to be a solid color for sure, preferably matching. I'm not gonna be able to match them exactly, but see how there's all these solids on the insides of the hexagons and separating the hexagons. So that's kind of what I was thinking. So we're gonna start by measuring the whole piece so I know what we're working with, and that'll kind of give me an idea of like just how many bags I could get out of this, because I'm thinking close to the dimensions of the Charlotte bag. Okay, I'm not gonna measure, oops, I'm not gonna measure this border. I'm gonna measure where that border ends. This is just like an estimate, 36. Okay, so 36 times 2, that's 66, 72. So it's 72 plus 17, that'd be 72, 82, 89. So 72 by 89 inches, not including the border that I'm going to cut off. So if I were gonna do jumbo bags like 18 by 20 or 20 by 20, I need a calculator. I was not a math teacher. So at 72 by 89, I actually could get right at 4 with just a little bit of fabric to spare, 4 Charlotte size bags. But my concern is like the patterns are so big, like the hexagons are so big that I want the bag to be big enough to like give them justice, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm literally just gonna like put one of these bags over top. Now, obviously the cut would be the original cut to make it would be bigger than this, but let's just say it's roughly 3 by 2.5 hexagons. Yeah, that's not enough. It's gonna have to be bigger. Okay, maybe I'm only getting 3 bags out of this thing. I've noticed on some of my videos, and then like actually on a lot of the crafty people that I follow on their videos, people are like, well, how do you do this? How do you do that? This is literally how you do it. Like we just figure it out by like trial and error. We use previous things that we've made as kind of like references, and then just try and like write it out a little bit depending on how our brain works, and then try and like visualize what it will look like, hopefully without butchering the fabric. So with that, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut one. That does mean cutting into it. I'm going to cut one and do the whole thing start to finish before I cut into the rest of it, just to see if the dimensions will work. I mean, it'll still be an okay bag. It just might be like too wide or too tall. I feel pretty good about it because the Charlotte bag dimensions are like exactly what I wanted. So if I just increase those dimensions, like height and width, I don't see why it wouldn't work. Cutting this out is going to be very tricky. I'm gonna have to do like a rough cut first and then flatten the piece. I'll probably have to iron it again. So I'm gonna just line up these raw edges here so that I can get a decent measurement. See, it's already not laying flat, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. I guess this is just a product of hand quilting or being washed, and it was like cheaper fabrics from back in the day. You can let me know in the comments if you have any ideas why that might be. Okay, I already forgot what I was doing. Okay, just what do you? It's so important to iron your fabric before you quilt it, especially if you've washed it, or even if you get it new from the store. Like a lot of time it's been folded up, or like even if it's been on a bolt, when they unravel it from the bolt, like it was like bunched in the bolt, and the last thing you want to do is to be like knee deep in your quilting and it's bunched and you have to like somehow fix it and it's already halfway quilted. I'm so nervous about quilting this because it's just like not, it's not going flat completely. That's another thing about like how I was planning to quilt it, because it is hexagon. So I'm like, I'm not going overboard with the quilting. And with the taller bags, I just think the straight lines, like one row of straight lines, looks so clean and neat, and just like helps elongate the bag, if that makes sense. It just looks really nice and neat versus like a crisscross or squares with the boxy bags and the smaller items. But I was like, if I do a straight line with these hexagons, so where these stitches are, if y'all can see that, like I'm wondering if I just do like, it's not going to be even stitching. I don't know if that would look good. So I'm not sure if I want to do even stitching lines like all the way across, because let me show you at a closer angle. So what I mean is, and ignore all of the fuzzies, okay, there is stitching seams here all the way down, and then there's seams here in the middle, like what would be the middle of the hexagons. So I don't want to quilt like on the seams. I don't want to do that. So I'm like, oop, that's thunder. Do I quilt? I think I'm going to quilt like in between the seams all the way across is my best bet. Oh my gosh, look how cute that is. So, so cute. So here's the lineup for the first one. This is super cute. Little houses, little tulips, no, roses. Super cute. And then we've got some reds and pinks. So I'm like, I think a pink interior, just a blanket pink interior for all of them is probably going to be the best bet. I just learned something new, and I want to show you in case, you know, working with vintage fabrics becomes trendy, or, you know, we're going to start going to our thrift stores and finding quilts. Okay, let me show you. So I almost cut this one at an angle because it looks like when you're putting it on the mat, just as it is, again, I've ironed it, it looks like it's uneven. I know you probably can't tell from the camera, but this is at this 1/2 inch and this is going like almost an inch higher, like it needs to be cut because it's at an angle. But if you look, these are all even. Look at how I cut these squares. They're all even like it's supposed to be. And the reason for that is the way that it was pieced. If I lay it back down and I spread it out like completely flat, then the measurements are what they should be. There's some bunching over here just because of the way that it was sewn. And so if I encourage you, if you get like your crafty brain, I'm so glad I caught that because I feel like I would have butchered this if I didn't. And then I checked the other piece and it is also cut evenly here, and then here they're also cut evenly, and on the sides as well. So I'm just gonna leave it like that. Again, if I get to sewing it and piecing it together and I realize that that's not working, then I can always just trim it off, right? But I feel like I need to leave that on there. I know that it might seem like not necessary for some stuff, like if you're batch making and stuff, to use basting spray, but definitely I'm a basting spray girly. Like I always use it, just even if it's just a little spritz, because the one time I don't is when it will mess up and I don't want to mess up. But definitely for older fabrics like this or pieced items like this, I would highly recommend this, because if you saw me like kind of going like this in the video, this really helped tremendously, like when I was smoothing that out, to keep it in place. It's not glue. Like you can pick up the piece and move it again. Now, if you did that repeatedly, you'd probably have to spray some more, but this is in my Amazon storefront. I use it all the time and it lasts a long time too. I'm trying to figure out the space, the inches I need in between each seam. Okay, so I think I'm going to do, well, no, that's 1.5 inch. Oh, just gonna eyeball it. They might not be even. I'm just gonna eyeball it. I did increase the stitch length from 2.5 to 3, and that seemed to help a little bit. Honestly, I think using that basting spray helped tremendously, because this is not shifting or anything like I really thought it would, because it would not lay flat. So I'm just going in between the seams. I'm not using like a quilting bar or anything. I'm just literally quilting a straight line in between the seams, and I'm holding it like this just to keep it steady. And my machine, like if you increase the stitch length, it's only going to go at one speed. Like this is all the way to the floor, and that's as fast as it's gonna go. But yeah, I'm just holding it steady to keep that line straight, since I'm not using a quilting bar. And also some of these the stitches on the back, not the stitches, the excess on the back side from all of these pieces being sewn together, they're not bulky. But another reason you don't want to go too fast if you have a huge pieced item like this is because you don't want your stitches catching on that excess on the back. So slow and steady sometimes is just better. And you can kind of see where some of the bulk is coming up, so you can like slow down a little bit so it can just like glide over it. It got so dark in here. Okay, so I finished the straight lines, and I think I'm definitely gonna go with a solid pink interior. I was thinking of like even an off-white. I have that as well. I might do some with an off-white on the next one. But for the straps, I wanted something different for the straps, and I know it's not solid and it probably should be, but I feel like this one, I've used this one in previous videos. I feel like this would go just for the straps, not the interior. I want the interior to definitely be solid. I've always known that like you don't want to have too busy of combinations going on, like too many patterns that are too busy together. That's definitely what this is, but it kind of works with the hexagon shape, and it's purposely busy, so we definitely don't want to add to the busyness. And that like I knew that, but when I posted the vintage fabric videos and I was like showing all the combos, like just like talking out loud, brainstorming and stuff, a lot of gals in the comments, thank you so much, they were like, yeah, just stick with solids on that one, like just kind of let it speak for itself. I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember exactly what they said. Either solids or checkers are probably what I'm going to stick to for interiors from now on. This is why I have to keep some of these bags for myself, because I don't remember always like I didn't write down the bag straps on these. So this is the one I made for myself, and I made the straps come like all the way down to the bottom. I'm not gonna do that on these. I'm just gonna have them come up from here, but I like the distance from the armpit, for lack of a better way to say it. So I'm gonna measure the straps on my bag here and use that. I don't love this. I don't like the straight lines. I don't love the straight lines. Like, I don't know if you can see. I might be overthinking it. I just used standard white 30 weight thread. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it, and once the bag comes together, it'll be okay. Okay, so this is the interior lining that I've already cut, and it's actually, this is the right side. I'd already lined it up, forgetting that I had to put the snaps on there. So what I do to find the center to save time, I just fold it over, crease that center, and then it's right there. So I'm just gonna put a mark like right here, a couple inches down. And I always use interfacing to add behind the snaps, just to help like reinforce it, and so the fabric doesn't rip over time for like repetitive use, you know. I guess this is an optional step. You don't, it's such a deep bag, like you don't have to do a snap. I just want to because some people might prefer it, but like if you don't want to use it, you don't have to. Poking my own finger, I'm just gonna gently poke two sides. I never actually measure the width of these things. I just eyeball it because I've been doing it for so long. And then I put this on the back side. I know a lot of people use Decovil, like a small piece of Decovil, instead of interfacing. I think this is Pellin 50, but I've used 40, 50, 60, 809, just any medium weight. I've never had a problem using those. I don't know if you'll be able to see in the video, but I haven't snipped the strings yet, but like when I do pockets, I always go like over the top of the pocket, and then I back stitch a few times on both sides just to kind of help reinforce that. So it's not like a perfect square or rectangle of, I just realized that tag is kind of lopsided, just a smidgen. Oh well, it's too late now. It's okay. It's a perfectly imperfect bag. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Okay, here it is. Just a giant bag. Okay, maybe the straight lines actually do work. Maybe I was just overthinking it. I think I was overthinking it. But the straps are a smidge long, but it is just a giant bag. It would be great for markets, shopping, a huge project bag. I am gonna go shorter on the other straps. But the pink interior looks really, really great. The texture is amazing. The texture is amazing. Definitely need to take about a good 5 inches off these straps. But if someone was super, super tall like me, I mean, I think it looks great. I think it looks great. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut into the other ones. I get to play for about another hour and a half. So I'm going to widen this just a little bit. Like, I like the depth. Because, here, let me flip the straps over. I like the depth because you can get 3 layers of the hexagons, and then there's like a half hexagon from each side on the bottom. So I'm going to keep the length, but I am going to widen it just maybe by like an inch or an inch and a half. And this is your weekly dose of cuteness. I think we might have settled on biscuit for this one. This is Scarlet, and my daughter last night, she was like, I think I wanna go with something. I was like, honey, you can't keep changing the name. If you need to think about it for a few days, that's fine, but you can't keep changing the name. But look at the feisty Pisces. Yes, they're 7 weeks old, and 2 was not the original plan, but it's just kind of how the cookie crumbled. But they just woke up from a nap. I was not planning on filming like right now. I was planning on being at my computer trying to figure out this techie stuff. But I'm going to share my frustration because like this is a perfect example of like you can make a plan, but you have to be very flexible and adaptable and just learn to roll with it. So one of my frustrations is when I am able to get dedicated work time, whether it's when my daughter gets to play video games on select times on the weekends, or she's at her gamey's house, or like right now she is at church camp. And I am literally stuck because of techie issues, and I can't like utilize my time in here the way that I had intended. So before we went on vacation, I filmed the AirPods keychain case tutorial, and I did it all. I got the whole thing filmed in like an hour. I was pretty proud of myself, and it looked so great. I thought the angles were perfect. The audio cut out about 4 minutes in. There's like 20 minutes of clips, which it's not going to be a 20-minute video, but that's like how many you cut down the clips, you know, when you're misspeaking and all of this. And I was like, I'll just dub over the audio. Like, it's going to take me longer. And I tried, y'all, I tried. But like, there's so many, most of the video is like, just like over the work area with my hands. And then I'm talking like behind the camera, like showing you what to do, right? I am trying to like dub it over, but like my hand movements, I can't remember what I'm saying that like goes with those hand movements. And so I'm like, this is going to be so dumb. I really wanted to get that out this week, not just because like I said I was, but I just posted on my Instagram. If you follow me there, by the time this video comes out, you've already seen it, that I'm just going to have to redo it. I'm going to redo it here in just a minute, which is not what I want to do. I want to play with my new vintage quilt bags. But, so that's probably not going to come out until next week, which is either right before or right after this one. And so I'm really trying to stick to 2 videos per week on YouTube because that was really helping my growth back in the spring. And it's kind of been a hit or a miss since I've had my daughter home with me full time. And so, wah, wah. It's okay. This is not the end of the world. At least all my tech is actually working. So the reason that the audio cut out the next time after that I went to use this mic, I was using this mic. It was like clipped to my shirt. I did spend some money on these mics and they are well worth it. Like these are going to be so handy during market season and they are linked in my Amazon storefront. I did wait to make the purchase because they were like almost $200, which is a big purchase for me in the summertime when I'm buying a ton of materials for other things. Oh, my mom's calling. I'll have to call her back. The next time I went to use these, they weren't working. And I was like, these are brand new. I've only used them a few times. And I had dedicated work time at that time. My daughter was doing something. My husband was doing something. I was like, I'm going to come in here and get some stuff done. And then I was at a full stop because the audio wouldn't work. And yes, I have a Rode mic that I could put on my camera, but like I didn't want to be, you have to be like close enough to it for it to actually like pick up your audio really well. It's great for like talking like right here. I don't know why I was holding it over here. Like I spent like an hour trying to Google and watch other YouTube videos to try and figure out what was wrong with these mics and what all the little flashy things meant. I finally took it to my husband. I was like, I'm mad and I don't understand how, will you please try to figure out what's wrong with these? He was like, I got it. He could tell I was upset. And I was like, I have to go in here and get something done. So I put my Rode mic on, whatever. You want to know what was wrong with these things? After an hour of frustration, my husband finally said, he was like, did you charge these? No. He was like, Brittany, they're dead. You have to charge it. He was like, that blinking light, the pulse. So there's blinking, there's flashing, and then there's pulsing or whatever. He was like, the pulse means that it's dead. And I was like, so I charged it and they were fine. So they come in this little box, right, which is super handy. And the box is chargeable. And so you like put them, I'm not going to put it in there right now because it might cut off the audio. But this box stays charged for a really, really long time. I guess I'd use them more than I thought. I was like, I keep putting them back in the box. He's like, Brittany, you have to charge the box. And I was like, I knew that, but like, this is another perfect example of just like, sometimes my synapses just are not, they're firing, but they're just not making their way to each other, okay? It's no different than the number of times that I have put laundry in the dryer and I don't turn it on. And then 2 days later, I'm like, oh, I gotta wash this again. You know, I don't know, like ADD. I am not sold on having my sewing machine on this table yet. I really wish this work table over here was just a smidge shorter. I don't know if you can see like where this table begins and where that one ends. It's a few inches taller. And my new chair, which is, I love, it's from Cave Vibe. I did a little promo on it a few videos ago, and it has this ergonomic thing on the back, and I really love it because I can lean back while I'm sewing, but I'm not like leaned all the way back. But it's too short for that table. My elbows are like up here, and so I'm like, ugh. Anywho, while I'm cutting and turning, I have this whole thing of pockets right here I'm going to trim up and turn out. Can we just be real for a second? I had to have a come to Jesus meeting with myself. I feel like being a small business owner, we get worked up about things very, very easily. These are super sharp. I need to be careful. Love these scissors. They're in my Amazon storefront. I got so worked up to, not like terribly worked up, like I wasn't pitching a fit or anything like that. I don't do that. But I had a plan for this week. I like filled up my schedule for this week because like I said, my daughter is in camp all day till, I don't have to leave the house till 4:30, which I'm not used to working such long days, like all day long. It's been fantastic. And the techie issues earlier just threw me for a loop. So since I couldn't do the AirPods tutorial for that to come out till next week, once I get those keychain clasps in, I was like, well, let me start from scratch and completely start editing the next video. I was going to save it for the next week. So I spent all morning doing that. And then there was just a few other troubleshooting things. And then I was like, this is so dumb. This is so dumb that I am being like in my head. I'm by myself. So this is all just me in my head being fussy about this. This is so dumb. These are all things that I can fix. It's fine. I'm still being productive. I have still worked all day other than taking my dog to the vet. She had surgery today. I've got to go pick her up, and going for a 30-minute jog and spending 15 minutes showering and getting food. You know, there are so many other worse things going on in the world today to get upset about. You know, the tragedies going on in Texas that we're not going to get into, or it just makes me want to cry. I think the reason us small business owners, whether you're a solo small business owner like me or you have some help, I think we get worked up sometimes because we're so passionate about it. Like this is my baby. My business is my baby. Like I wouldn't say I live and breathe it because I have other mommy, wifey responsibilities, but I care about it so, so much. And so if something gets messed up, I get frustrated, right? Which is a natural reaction, but I have to have those come to Jesus meetings with myself to just calm down. You know, it's fine. And even if it wasn't fine, even if I couldn't refilm that for whatever reason, it's just so dumb. I'm really trying to focus on contentment, gratefulness. Like even when things aren't going well, I'm a throw it in the floor person. Like I will sweep all this up later. I ain't got time for aiming for the trash can. Okay, toss it. All right, now we're moving on to the pockets. Oh, as a side note, if you're wondering about the color, I did make the first one pink. This is Crafty 80 in action. I made the first lining pink, but I went with just like this, it's like a grainy canvas color. Like it's not full canvas and it's not linen either, but it's not just like 100% cotton. Or maybe it is cotton and it's just a different type of cotton. I would call it a thinner canvas, but it's a very neutral color that's just gonna just highlight the exterior of the bag even more. I'll show you what the outside looks like in just a second. Here, I'll show you what the pockets are gonna look like as soon as I turn one out. I forgot that I'm gonna do double pockets, like on the interior. Since there's no exterior pocket, I'm gonna do one on each side of the panels. So my logo is right here. I have a video, if you're new here, I have a video on how I did these fabric tags. It's super cheap and super easy, and I'll just need to press this down. Don't ever press your iron on these. If you do decide to do my tutorial, don't ever iron on top of these. I'm gonna iron this side and then just iron the little pocket shut, and we'll do a top stitch along here before like pinning this to the actual bag and then stitching it onto the bag. So I'm just gonna finish up trimming out these pockets. I've got about 45 minutes before I have to leave. I have to go get my dog first and then hurry and bring her back and make sure she's okay before I go pick up my daughter from the camp. And the camp technically doesn't let out till 4:50. But this car line will rival any school car line. It's bad. So yesterday I got in line 20 minutes early. That wasn't enough. It's either go get in line. You're going to wait either way. That's what I don't understand about car line. I work from home and I could go get in the school car line early. Like when my daughter was still, like when she was in kindergarten and went to public school. But like, why? You're just going to sit there. You're either going to sit there before they let out, or you're gonna sit there after they let out because you're in the back of the line. Either way, you're sitting there. So I would rather like get there a few minutes before they let out and still like keep working another, because I can get a lot done in 20 minutes in here, let me tell you. I would rather stay in here and keep working and then just go be towards the mid to slash back of the line. I just don't understand it. You know what's crazy is at the school that I used to work at as a middle school teacher, they actually had to put up a, I mean, this isn't the sole reason, but they put up a gate fence thingy, like where the parent line, there was like this huge long driveway looking thing where the parents would pull up to drop off, and they put up a gate. The county that I worked in, I will say, was like really staunch on security and safety, as they should be, right? And so it was technically a safety precaution. So unauthorized vehicles couldn't pull into the parking lot from that way during school hours, right? But they wouldn't unlock it until 2 o'clock. We would let out at 2:50, and our SRO wouldn't go unlock it until 2 o'clock every day, because parents would literally line up at like 12:30, 1 o'clock. I'm like, y'all, we got 2 hours. What are y'all doing? And they weren't all grandparents either. I'm like, even if I was a stay-at-home parent with nothing, like no business, nothing, like, I'm not going to go sit there for 2 hours. Y'all are crazy. I don't know. I guess I'm just different. I think that's just silly. That has absolutely nothing to do with pockets. I'm going to finish these pockets, and then I will probably be able to get all of these finished up by tomorrow if I can get all these pockets and the snaps onto the linings so that we can sew up the linings tomorrow. Good morning, friends. I've just been working on some of the linings. So I got the pockets finished last night, and I got the snaps put on them. And then this morning I sewed the edges around the linings so that we can start stuffing them into the exteriors. I don't normally film in here this early in the morning because, as you can see, it's like really dark. And I also am about to go exercise and feed and water the chickens before I take a shower. And I've also been really, really self-conscious about this. I've been trying to film from this angle a lot. I don't have makeup on my face right now, and I can't get into the dermatologist for like another month, but it's not acne. I don't know what it is, but it's not acne. I don't have acne. It's been here for like literally 2 months, and I'm like, don't look at me. So if you sew, or you've been looking to try to sew, and you've seen people make like the trendy makeup bags or tote bags, when you're in the cutting phase and you see like the corners are clipped, like sometimes people will use a template and lay it over the fabric and just like trace around it and then cut out a template, and like that's the bag. And that's great. You don't have to clip the corners later, but I want to show you, like, you don't have to do it that way if you don't have a template, or if that's super confusing. Or to me, this way that I do it is faster. If I had thought of this like while I was cutting like the exteriors and everything, I would have shown you then, but I just thought of it now when I was clipping these corners. So what I do, this is kind of a big piece, but whether it's a big tote bag or a little makeup bag, I just cut all my squares or rectangles. Like, because when you're batch cutting a lot of fabric, like, to me, it's just easier to just cut everything out, like boom, 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 boom. And then when you get to this phase, like, I've stitched down the seams. I basically stitched like all 3 sides, right? And then I left a gap here to turn it out. I like, if possible, to leave the gap on the side instead of the bottom. That's just my personal preference. And then I literally just use a ruler to measure the sides. You can use a pencil, and then I just snip, snip, snip. to me, when you're initially cutting all the fabric, it's so much faster to just cut all your squares like that and then snip it here at the end. And I did the same thing with these panels. I quilted them, I sewed them all together all the way around, and then just measured and snipped the sides. Okay, I went to get an unfinished pile. This is like a random in progress pile from over there where I've got my crochet dragons piled up. But these are my jumbo boxy bags. And are they all clipped? Okay, here's one that's not clipped. Some of them are clipped because I was putting the zippers on, but this one is not clipped. Like, this is literally, I just cut out a big rectangle. It's quilted already. I didn't cut out any corners already. I just cut the big old panel, and then I'm gonna snip the corners later. That's just what works for me, and I just wanted to show you that you don't have to do it the other way, like template style. I don't think it would really save fabric at all. It's just more of a time saver. Okay, this is one of the bigger bag linings, but I'm just gonna show you what I mean. So I love these little bitty rulers. I have this size, and then as well as my big ruler that I use all the time, and then this size. So like for the bigger bags, I used the 5-inch mark, but for these, like this is really, really handy. And I think these are in my Amazon storefront. I'll double check before I post this video, but I've had them for so long, I really don't remember where I got them. I might have gotten them at Walmart, but I'll post on Amazon just in case. And then yeah, now I measure on the seam, not the edge of the fabric, so that everything is just very uniform. And then you make your marks on both sides. Gonna do it again, and this seems like it's kind of time consuming, but it's not. You can, if you have several to do, you can kind of just do it on autopilot and then snip. And then that's it. And this is, I wouldn't say an unnecessary step, but you don't have to. I do this with the exteriors just because they're a little more bulky, but you line up those seams like, oh, you can't see. You line up those seams right there on both sides so that it's uniform when you go to turn it right side out inside of the bag. Again, you don't have to clip them like this. You can totally just line them up when you're at the machine. But again, if you're bulk sewing, this, to me, it just speeds up the process once I'm at the machine, and it takes literally, what, like 5 seconds just now just to do that. So this is my last one. I'm gonna finish this one up and then go do, like I said, my exercise, the chickens, take a shower, and then I'll see you soon. I have all the straps finished, and I had enough of this red plaid to do one set of red plaid straps. I think they would have been so cute to do red plaid on all of them, but I ran out. I just have smaller scraps that weren't the length that I needed. And I've done that thing before where you can like basically put smaller pieces together to make a longer strap, but I just don't like that seam in there, like somewhere in the middle if I can help it. So I just did the one. But I wanted to show you a little, it's not a trick really, it's just, I guess, a method that I do before I put the liners inside of the exteriors, just to make sure it all lines up correctly so there's no bunching. If I'm being completely honest, I don't expect these to fully line up for every single one of these, because there was, like I said earlier in the video, it was very difficult to get these flat and to measure them completely uniform and properly, and then they got quilted. And then this fabric is, it doesn't iron very well. It's a good weight. Like, it's not thick, but it's not thin either. I'm not really sure what it is, but it's not canvas. So I expect there to be some unevenness. So I did not trim off the excess, like on the inside of here. Like, I didn't trim those off in case I had to like take it out and make it bigger. But let me show you what I do. Okay, so here's my external piece of the quilted quilt top. And here's my stitches where I stitch the sides together. And we want these stitching, like, I don't know how to explain this. Like, we want basically this side to match all the way across to this side. Well, that is definitely the wrong size liner. Of course it's not gonna fit. I had the wrong size on there. Okay, there we go. Let's try this again. So we want these to line up exactly. So I'm just gonna finger press these seams out, and I'm gonna line it up exactly on top of where this seam is, and then all the way across. Oh, that's actually pretty perfect. Like, I want these seams to line up, because let's say, I don't know if you can see, like where my thumb is where this seam is, and you can tell I haven't trimmed off the excess yet, and I'm probably not gonna trim much of that off anyways, to be honest with you. I want this to line up right as close to that seam as possible, so that when we're stitching it together, we don't want any bunching. And then, but like, let's say it was like over here, then I would just turn this wrong side out again and just make a new stitch line to kind of compensate for it being a little bit too wide. But this one's okay, so I'm gonna keep that one together. I'm trying to find one that's not lining up so I can show you what I mean. Okay, I think this is gonna be one that's not lining up. So if you can see, this is where the stitch is, and it's maybe like between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch too wide. So I'm gonna go back in and stitch about another 1/8 of an inch in to make that the correct width. This last one was actually off by a lot. Let me see if you can, like, this was the original, and it was off by like almost 1/2 an inch, maybe like 3/4 of an inch. So what I had to do, usually if you're just having to like do like 1/8 of an inch, I'm not gonna worry about picking the stitch on like the, this is the bottom of the bag, like the corner. But since that was like such a big difference, I did pick the stitches on the bottom, and I'm gonna redo this corner here. I need to go in just a little bit to make up for that new line. So it's a clear 2 inches this way and 2 inches this way. I would say for like every 5 bags I make, I've got to do this to like 1. Like all the other ones except that one that I showed you lined up pretty well. It's usually not this bad. I don't know if maybe I just miscut this whole panel. It's fine, but it is something that you can fix at this stage versus like if you went ahead and pinned it and you sewed it all the way around, and then you get to that last little bit and there's this massive bunching, and then you have to pick all the stitches. So that's why I just do that little check at this stage. This step is not my super favorite, but you have to, it's just a little awkward. But the inside lining of the seam here, you're just gonna, we have to line up those seams, and I do the seams first on each side because those have to be right there, and I pin them in quilt clips. I know I talk about these all the time, but like they're in my Amazon storefront and I use them like literally every day. I was actually thinking about ordering some more. And so now we'll go around and clip a little bit on the sides, but we also need to put in our straps. So this is one of the smaller ones, and I definitely want to use the red plaid on one of the smaller ones. So I need to find the center. Yeah, which is like right here. And so we're gonna put them in here and make sure they're all like, it's not twisted, kind of like that. So I bring mine out just a little bit. We can always trim off the excess just to make sure that we're gonna catch all those layers when we do our sewing. And I'm going to show you what I do on my sewing machine to be able to do this part. Okay, and you want to make sure it's straight, because sometimes when I don't put more than one quilt clip here, sometimes when I go to sew it, it'll be like this, like kind of crooked. So that's another reason I pull it out just a little bit, just to make sure it's like as straight as possible. And that way, if I get to this when I'm sewing and I notice it's a little crooked, I can just like, you know, wiggle it just a little bit and straighten it up. I like to save time during the other steps of the process, because this is not something that you want to speed through, because whenever I do is when I'm gonna mess up. Whenever you get one side done, then the next side's just really easy, but you want to make sure you put them in the exact same spot so they line up nicely whenever you do get them done. So thankfully, I don't know if all machines do this, but this piece comes off of my machine so that you can put something round around it like this. The only thing is I have to be careful that these clips don't come off when I'm turning it around. So I like to start on the edge, not the edge, I like to start close to one of the side seams. And the whole time I'm doing it, I'm like, my right hand is doing a lot of work. I'm like constantly having my fingers on that lining on the bottom. And sometimes, especially with this quilted top piece, like that there's so many seams on those hexagons, it's like wanting to catch. And so I'm not pulling back here, I'm just guiding. Okay, so I actually don't ever trim the excess around this part, but I am gonna trim whatever is poking out from these handles right here because that's uneven. You want your seam that you made to stay even. Unless it's like a ½ inch, then I would just leave it. I'm so excited to see what this one's like because the red plaid is just gonna make it pop. Oh my goodness, it's so cute already. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be so good. Gotta stitch this hole up. Now typically I would iron this down, but it's already pretty, I don't think I need to. So there's only one step left, and that is top stitching. I'm just gonna iron all this down to make it nice and flat so we have an even top stitch, and then she's gonna be done. This one needed like a lot of extra guidance. The feed dogs couldn't quite handle all the extra seams that are from all the pieces of hexagons. It was just extra bulky, and so I needed to help it along quite a bit. But oh my gosh, this is cute! Wow, this is one of the prettiest things I've ever made. Love the handles, and I am very glad that I ended up going with a very neutral interior. And then there's my logo right there. So there's one pocket and the snaps. There's the other pocket and the snaps, and they're big enough to hold a phone. Where's my phone? I have a new-ish iPhone. It's like either the latest or the second to latest, and it's got a Pelican case in it, and it fits in there pretty nicely. I'm gonna finish up one of the big ones off camera real quick just to show you like the full size of what that one's gonna be, but this one's pretty big. Like this is very much like the Charlotte style that I made, but let me finish up a big one off camera real quick. Be right back. Y'all, I cannot get over the texture of this bag. So this is the big one. Here, let me grab the small one so you can see like the side by side. Can I just say I love that my new chair has these hooks on the back. Like I never thought that would be my favorite feature of my new chair from Cave Vibe, but I do. Like when I'm working on in progress stuff, I just hang it on the back of my chair and I love it. There's a discount code down in the description. So here's the small one. And then this is the big one. It is, I don't think it's that much bigger, but kind of. This would be an awesome project bag. And another thing I forgot to show you about the straps, I did 3 stitches. I like the texture of 3 or 4 stitches. I'm a texture person, and I think that's another reason this squish is just perfect. It's amazing. I'll definitely have to take individual pictures, of course, but yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments, and I do need your help with just one thing. This is what was left. And it looks like a pretty good piece, but this is a very small piece. This isn't even enough to be maybe one panel. I know you're thinking, oh, like some makeup bags or the little quilted pouches that I made like with the keepsake collection, but the hexagons are so big. I don't know if that would work. So let me know down in the comments, what should I do with that? have 2 hours before I have to go get my daughter, so I'm gonna finish up the other 3. There's 5 bags total. There's gonna be 2 small ones and 3, well, actually 4 big ones if you count this one that I did the pink interior lining and extra long strap. So there'll be 6 bags total, and they are gonna cost more because they took a long time to make, I'm not gonna lie. It was a little cumbersome to work with the quilt top, and I think one start to finish would have taken at least a few hours. Friends, I hope you learned something. I hope you were entertained. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you'll just like and subscribe this video, it really helps my channel grow and support my business, and I will see you on the next one.